The story starts in a small village in Mexico, where a young boy named Miguel is walking through the streets when he notices some armed men in the back of a passing truck. He then leaves a pack of gummy bears for a girl and heads home. While he is doing his homework, his mother Rosa receives a call from Miguel's uncle Carlos, who anxiously tells her to leave immediately with Miguel because the cartel is after them. Rosa worriedly asks what he is going to do, but Carlos assures her that they must leave according to the plan and that he will follow later because the cartel is hunting him too to set an example. After the call ends,
A ver, espérate, Carlos, ¿qué tienes?
Rosa, tienes que irte.
Rosa tells Miguel that they are leaving. Meanwhile, Carlos is being tortured by cartel members under a bridge, and one of them discovers that he has just called Rosa before getting caught. Before they kill Carlos, the man tells him that since he crossed the cartel, his family has to pay for it. On the other side of the border in Naco, Arizona, James Hansen, a former Marine and now a rancher, shoots down a coyote near his ranch's border. As he walks closer, he notices some men who have illegally crossed the border and immediately informs the Border Patrol. Soon he finds another injured man.
I've got 4 or 5 IAs.
Copy that, Jim. Agents on the way.
Reports him as well and gives him some water. After feeding his cows, James returns home and is taking down the flag when a man from the bank arrives with a notice saying that his ranch is going to be sold at auction in 90 days. Surprised, James explains that he visited the bank last month and was assured this would not happen. The man tells him that it is the bank's policy to take action if payments are overdue for too long, and that they might take the ranch before 90 days if they receive a better offer. James looks toward a hill and says that he spread his wife's ashes there last year and only needs some time to get back on track. The man says he is sorry for the loss, but reminds him that he only has 90 days.
Before those 90 days, if it receives a reasonable offer from a third party.
I'm no deadbeat.
Like I said, you've got 90 days, most likely.
James then visits a man named Randall to ask for a construction job. When Randall asks about the ranch, James explains that he sold most of his herd to pay for his wife's medical bills and only has a few cattle left. Randall tells him to come back next month because a new project is starting then.
I wouldn't be asking if I didn't need the job.
Listen, I got a new project starting next month.
Yeah, okay.
Later, when James tries to sell the rest of his cattle, the buyer says that most of them are underweight and offers him only $17,000, leaving James disappointed. That night, James is drinking at a bar when the bartender calls her stepdaughter Sarah, who works with Border Patrol. Sarah thanks him for informing them about the illegal immigrants. She tells him that the cartel is using that crossing to move people and drugs these days and says she worries about him because he lives out there alone. She then asks why he is drinking so late. James says he keeps wondering how he lost everything he cared about, including his home, wife, and livelihood, despite giving everything to his country. When he tries to order another drink,
What is going on?
I'm wondering that myself.
Sarah stops him and drives him home. After they arrive, they talk about her mother for a while before James falls asleep. Meanwhile, Rosa and Miguel reach the border with the help of a guide. As they walk, the guide suddenly spots a vehicle and tells them to get down because the area is controlled by the cartel and they will be killed if they continue. Rosa tries to convince him by offering more money, saying they have to cross right away. The guide tells her there is an opening in the fence, but they have to take the risk alone before turning back. With no other choice,
No, no, no. Vamos a regresar si ya llegamos. Ya estamos aquí.
Ustedes saben si se animan.
Rosa and Miguel rush toward the fence and begin searching for the opening, while the cartel vehicle spots them and heads in their direction. Miguel soon finds the opening, and while crossing the fence, Rosa suffers a small injury. At the same time, James is driving near the border with his dog when he suddenly brakes after Rosa and Miguel run in front of his truck. Seeing Rosa injured, James says they will never reach the nearest road in that condition and decides to call Border Patrol for help. Rosa starts crying and begs him not to call them. She even offers him money, but James says he is not a smuggler and reports their location anyway.
Border Patrol will help you out. Listen.
No, sir, please.
A few minutes later, cartel members arrive at the border and demand that James hand over the woman and the boy. James refuses, saying he has already called for backup and that help is on the way.
All by yourself, huh? I'm a soldier too.
This ain't worth it, boys.
When one of the cartel men reaches for his gun, James shoots him. A gunfight breaks out while Rosa and Miguel hide behind a rock. James tells them to get into his truck. As they drive away, one of the cartel members named Mauricio runs after them and climbs into the back of the truck. Miguel starts crying after seeing Rosa bleed. While James is trying to contact the border patrol, his dog begins barking at Mauricio, who suddenly attacks James through the truck window. James slams on the brakes, throwing Mauricio off the truck before driving away. After they escape, another cartel member reaches Mauricio and tells him that his brother has died after being shot. On the other hand, after some time, James stops the truck and carries Rosa out as she is taking her last breaths. James assures her that the cartel is gone, but she tells him that she will give him everything she has because the cartel is going to come back for Miguel. She begs him to protect Miguel and take him safely to Chicago, where his aunt lives. Rosa then hands James her sister's address, says goodbye to Miguel, and dies. Later,
No, those guys are gone. They're gone.
Te vas a quedar con el señor, ¿sí?
Sarah and the other Border Patrol officers arrive at the scene. James tells Sarah that none of this makes any sense, but Sarah replies that nothing involving the cartel ever makes sense. When James asks what is going to happen to Miguel, Sarah says he will most likely end up in foster care. After giving his statement at the Border Patrol station, James sleeps in his truck in the parking lot. When he wakes up, he spots Mauricio and his men entering the Mexican Border Patrol station. While trying to understand what is happening, he notices Rosa's bag and opens it, finding a large amount of cash inside. He starts driving away while thinking about Rosa's final words. Troubled by everything, he turns back to the station where the cartel members are waiting in the parking lot on the other side of the border. James asks a police officer about Miguel and learns that the boy is being sent back to Mexico because relatives are supposedly waiting for him across the border. James then asks if he can see Miguel. At first, the officer refuses, but James lies by saying that Sarah has already given him permission. He is taken to the holding area.
I need to see him.
Sorry, Jim.
What?
Where Miguel is sitting alone. James quickly tells him that he is not safe there, takes him outside, and they both get into the truck. As they drive away, Mauricio notices them through the fence and tells his men that they are about to cross the border. James quickly returns to his ranch to pack some clothes and a gun. When he comes outside, he realizes Miguel is no longer in the truck. He quickly finds him and tells him that he has to come along because those men are going to kill him otherwise. Meanwhile, at the border crossing, Mauricio and his men use fake passports belonging to other people to get through security. A corrupt officer lets them pass without any trouble. While driving,
Passports and visas, please.
James tries to explain to Miguel that he is taking him to Chicago because it was his mother's last wish. Since Miguel stays quiet, James assumes he does not understand English. Meanwhile, Mauricio reaches James's ranch and searches the place. He takes James's Medal of Honor, while his men set the house on fire. As James reaches New Mexico, he stops at a gas station and pays with his bank card. He then asks for a paper map, surprising the gas station clerk, who jokes that everyone uses their phones for directions these days. Back in Arizona,
It's like a map book with all the states.
Everyone pretty much just Googles it on their phone.
My lucky day.
Mauricio's men prepare their weapons while he orders one of them to track James's location. James calls Sarah, who becomes angry because he took Miguel away. James explains that he has no choice because the cartel would have killed the boy, as he saw them waiting on the other side of the border. Sarah urges him to return and tells him that his house has also burned down, but James says he cannot come back and ends the call. While driving, James loses his temper and asks Miguel why they have to cross onto his property and ruin his life. Miguel replies that he never wants to come there in the first place, surprising James because he realizes Miguel actually understands English. Back in Arizona, one of Mauricio's men informs him that James has just used his bank card in New Mexico. Hearing this, Mauricio tells his men to get ready. Miguel begs James to take him back home, insisting that he can look after himself. James refuses, saying that the cartel is going to kill him if he goes back, and that taking him to his aunt in Chicago is the safest option. While they are talking,
Why did you call the border patrol on us? If you want to help me, you can take me back.
It may not seem like it right now, but
truck begins to overheat and smoke starts rising from the radiator. Meanwhile, Mauricio and his men arrive at the gas station in New Mexico. Mauricio asks the clerk if she has seen a man and a young boy. She says they stopped there earlier, but does not know where they go afterward. Mauricio walks behind the counter and asks about the security cameras. When the clerk tries to stop him, he grabs her by the neck and demands to see the footage. Moments later, his partners waiting outside hear gunshots. After checking the camera recordings, Mauricio walks back outside and they all drive away.
Vamos al noreste.
In a nearby town, a mechanic inspects James's truck and says the radiator needs to be replaced, but the part will take 2 or 3 days to arrive. James insists that he cannot wait that long. The mechanic offers to patch it up temporarily so James can continue the trip, but tells him they have to wait until the next day because the shop is already closed. Later that night, after ordering food, James asks Miguel how he learns English so well. Miguel explains that his mother always makes him study hard. When James asks about the men chasing them, Miguel says his uncle Carlos does something that angers the cartel, so he tells his mother to run away. James then asks about Miguel's father, and Miguel says that he dies before he is born. After dinner,
Can I have a hamburger?
Where'd you learn to speak English?
My mom, she made me study a lot.
Miguel goes to the restroom while James continues drinking. When Miguel returns, he cannot find James inside the restaurant. Thinking James has abandoned him, he rushes outside and discovers James asleep in his truck. The next morning, James wakes up and notices that both Miguel and his dog Jackson are missing, along with his bag. He is about to get angry, but then sees them returning with a shopping bag. As Miguel happily eats snacks, James tells him that from now on, only he is going to do the shopping. James gets the truck repaired the next day and once again pays with his bank card. The mechanic reminds him to replace the radiator properly once he gets home. Seeing Miguel, the mechanic asks if the boy is his son, but James says he is not. As they continue their journey, James struggles to read the paper map, so he asks Miguel if he knows how to use one. Miguel takes the map and starts marking the route to Chicago.
You know how to read that thing?
Meanwhile, one of Mauricio's men receives another alert that James has used his bank card at the repair shop. Meanwhile, Mauricio is waiting outside a boutique when a woman gets into a nearby car. They briefly look at each other until her husband arrives and asks Mauricio what he wants. Before he can respond, one of his men informs him that James has just used his bank card only 20 miles away. On the road, Miguel tells James that having a phone would make navigation much easier. He asks why James does not own one, assuming older people dislike them. James replies that he has no one who needs to call him and prefers it that way. Miguel then wonders if he is going to like Chicago. James says he definitely will because he visits the city when he is Miguel's age and remembers its famous hot dogs and beautiful green parks.
Do you think I like it in Chicago?
And the hot dogs. You like hot dogs? Never had one as good anywhere else.
While driving, James notices a police car following them. The officer soon pulls them over and asks for James's license and registration. After checking the documents, he asks if James is carrying any weapons. James honestly mentions his handgun and rifle. The officer asks him to step out, claiming he wants to question Miguel. Instead, he places James in the back of the patrol car, locks away his rifle, and makes a suspicious phone call. Realizing something is wrong, James accuses the officer of taking a bribe from the cartel. As the officer reaches for his gun, Jackson attacks him, giving James enough time to overpower and tie him up. Confused, Miguel gets out of the truck and accidentally drops their map. James quickly drives away and hides nearby, where they watch Mauricio and his men arrive. The corrupt officer refuses to reveal their location, so Mauricio shoots him dead. Before leaving, Mauricio picks up the map and keeps it. James later visits a gun shop to buy weapons. The owner recognizes his military record and explains that a background check could take a day or two. James insists he cannot wait because dangerous people are after him. Trusting his story, the owner sells him the guns and decides to report them as stolen later.
Something bad happens. The police can't help me. I'll report him stolen.
James then calls Sarah. She tells him that the man chasing him is Mauricio, a cartel soldier recruited as a child, and that James killed his brother at the border. She also reveals that Miguel's uncle stole money from the Vasquez cartel before being murdered. Sarah urges James to return, warning that Mauricio will eventually find and kill both of them. James lies that he is in a Texas town called Weyburn. Sarah tells him to contact the local sheriff, but James refuses, saying he cannot trust the police. She promises to come herself and tells him to stay out of sight.
He will kill you.
No, I can't trust them.
After buying new clothes, James and Miguel check into a motel. James avoids using his bank card and pays with cash instead. While watching a movie, Miguel talks about the girl he hopes to marry someday. He asks James about his wife, and James quietly says that she dies from cancer. He admits that people claim loneliness gets easier with time, but he believes that is not true. Miguel happily says the first thing he wants in Chicago is a hot dog. James almost tells him they are turning back, but changes his mind and simply tells him to get some sleep. Later that night, James notices Mauricio's men at the motel reception while letting Jackson outside. He quickly wakes Miguel, calls 911 to report an armed robbery, and they escape through the window. When Mauricio storms into the room, it is already empty. James and Miguel hide in the grass while Mauricio vows to kill James for his brother's death. Police sirens soon force the cartel to retreat. James sends Miguel to the truck and returns for Jackson, but Mauricio shoots and kills the dog before leaving. Devastated, James carries Jackson's body away.
Te va a matar. The truck is right through there.
The next morning, they reach Bridgeport, Oklahoma, where they bury Jackson. Miguel places a small cross made of sticks on the grave and says Jackson is in heaven. Still grieving, James loses his temper and says bringing Miguel across the country is a mistake and they are going back. As James walks toward the truck, Miguel admits he has seen the bag full of money. James angrily orders him to get inside, but Miguel bursts into tears and runs away. James immediately chases after him. Meanwhile, Sarah and her team arrive at the motel where the sheriff tells her that they receive a report of an armed robbery. When they reach the scene, they find the motel owner dead, but nothing has been stolen. He then shows Sarah James's room, explaining that a witness sees a man and a young boy entering it before leaving in a hurry. At the same time, James continues driving around until he finally finds Miguel walking alone beside the road. James gets out of the truck and admits that he should have told Miguel about the money from the beginning. He says he makes the mistake of believing he can help him on his own. When Miguel asks if they are still going to Chicago, James quietly replies that they are not. Miguel gets back into the truck and says he feels sorry about Jackson because he is a good dog. James thanks him for giving Jackson a proper burial. Miguel then says he hopes his mother receives a funeral someday. Moved by his words,
We're not going to Chicago? I hope someday there's a funeral for my mother.
James takes him to a nearby church and asks the priest to pray for Rosa. As Miguel quietly sits inside the empty church, the priest offers a prayer for Rosa's soul. He then asks James if Miguel is his grandson. James explains that he is not and says he only knows Miguel's mother, who asks him to protect her son before she dies. The priest tells James that such a request is not a small one and says Rosa must have great faith in him. His words change James's mind. He calls Sarah, who immediately asks where he is and says her team is ready to protect them. James tells her he is not bringing Miguel back because he is going to honor Rosa's final wish. He believes Miguel would not survive even a week if he returns to Mexico. Sarah says they can apply for asylum and figure something out together, but she needs to know their location. James refuses, saying he cannot abandon the boy now because he believes his late wife is somehow guiding him through everything. Holding back tears, Sarah says she cannot help him anymore if he continues. James calmly replies that he only needs a few more hours. Meanwhile,
What kind of life's he gonna have back in Mexico?
He can apply for asylum here. With what?
You do what you've got to do.
Mauricio and his men are sitting in their car when a radio broadcast reports the murder of the police officer and asks for information. One of the cartel members notices the map they recover earlier and sees Chicago marked on it. He immediately shows it to Mauricio, who contacts his men already waiting in the city. At the same time, James tells Miguel that they are going to Chicago after all, making the boy smile with relief. During a break, James practices shooting and even teaches Miguel a few basics, telling him that he is a natural. Miguel asks if James is once a soldier, and James says he serves in the Marines. Miguel then asks if he has ever killed people. James admits that he has. Miguel says one day he wants to kill the men responsible for his mother's death, but James tells him that taking a life never feels good. He reminds Miguel that his mother wants him to have a better future and urges him not to throw that chance away. That night, while sitting beside a campfire, Miguel asks if James still misses his wife. James says he misses her every single day. Seeing Miguel quietly crying, James comforts him by saying he has a bright future ahead and that his mother is always going to watch over him. James then hands Miguel the bag of cartel money, but Miguel refuses it, saying he does not want money that belongs to criminals. Proud of his answer, James takes the cash out and together they throw it into the fire, burning every last bill. The following morning, as they get closer to Chicago, James notices several men watching their truck from a bridge. Sensing danger, he changes routes and decides to take side roads instead. Mauricio's men soon receive a call from the spotters on the bridge, who reveal James's location. Before long, both sides spot each other. James speeds away, but the truck's damaged radiator overheats once again, forcing them to stop. James immediately gets out with his rifle and waits beside the road. As Mauricio's vehicle appears, James shoots the driver dead. His next shot blows out a tire, causing the vehicle to flip over and crash. The surviving cartel members crawl out of the wreck and begin firing toward James's truck. James grabs Miguel and they run toward a nearby barn, while Mauricio and the remaining gunmen chase them. Inside, James tells Miguel that if anything happens to him, he must run as far away as possible. James then shoots and kills one of the cartel members through a barn window. Mauricio and the last gunman return fire, riddling the barn with bullets. James tells Miguel to create a distraction by firing 2 shots through another window, while he quietly changes position. Miguel follows the plan, and when the second gunman exposes himself, James shoots and kills him as well. Mauricio eventually sneaks inside the barn and finds Miguel hiding behind stacks of hay. Holding Miguel at gunpoint, he calls out to James and orders him to drop his weapon. James steps out and begs Mauricio to release the boy. Mauricio refuses, saying Miguel has the potential to become a great cartel soldier just like him. He then forces Miguel to hold the pistol and aims it at James. While Mauricio is distracted, Miguel secretly presses the magazine release.
That was just like him one day.
We made our choices. Let him make his.
Mauricio pulls the trigger, but the gun fails after only 1 shot, leaving James wounded in the arm. As Mauricio bends down to reload, James charges at him, and the two engage in a brutal fight. James eventually gains the upper hand, but Mauricio stabs him during the struggle. At that moment, Miguel points the gun at Mauricio. James quickly takes the weapon from Miguel and shoots Mauricio himself. He then tells Miguel to walk away before removing the remaining bullets from Mauricio's gun and leaving it beside him, saying that he still has a choice about the kind of man he wants to be. Before dying, Mauricio quietly returns James's Medal of Honor. Afterward, James and Miguel hitch a ride and finally make it to Chicago. When they reach the address Rosa gives them, James hands his medal to Miguel. Miguel walks to the front door, where his aunt immediately opens it and hugs him tightly. In the final scene, James quietly sits alone on a bus and notices blood soaking through his clothes from the stab wound.